The 2024 Formula One season gave us the answer we had been waiting for, but it wasn't the one we expected. For months, the paddock whispered that Max Verstappen was only winning because of the car, while Lando Norris was the anointed prince, ready to take the throne if he just had the machinery. Then he got the machinery in 2024. He had the fastest car on the grid for half the season, yet the result was the same. Saying Verstappen simply won misses the violent, psychological, and controversial reality of how he actually broke McLaren's spirit. When the lights went out in Bahrain on March 2nd, 2024, it looked like the sport was in for another year of suffocation.
Have mercy.
Verstappen disappeared into the distance to win by 22 seconds, and the RB20 looked like a spaceship compared to the rest of the field. He won 7 of the first 10 races in a clinical and boring display. Those opening months were a deception, because the Red Bull wasn't developing, it was stagnating. While Max was racking up points that would eventually save his season, the engineers at Milton Keynes were starting to lose their way with correlation data, unaware that a papaya-colored storm was brewing in Woking. May 5th changed everything, because Lando Norris won the Miami Grand Prix and shattered the glass ceiling that had hovered over him for 110 races.
This moment, driver into the arms of his team.
I love you all. Thank you so much. We did it!
The safety car got lucky for him by picking up Verstappen at the wrong moment, but the pace was real. The McLaren MCL38 had arrived with a massive upgrade package, and for the first time in years, Max Verstappen looked in his mirrors to see a car that could genuinely hunt him down. That win did something dangerous by giving Lando hope, and history shows that hope is often the thing that destroys a driver. If Miami was the awakening, the Austrian Grand Prix was the declaration of war. On June 30, the friendship died at turn 3. Norris had been faster for laps, probing and trying to find a way past a struggling Red Bull, but Max did what he always does. He moved and squeezed without caring that they were friends who shared private jets.
The gap to Hamilton was 4.8. I think that's a podium, mate.
On lap 64, they touched and both cars punctured. The contact was small, but the statement was massive. Verstappen finished 5th despite a 10-second penalty, while Norris didn't finish
Yeah, Mr. Stark. Yeah.
at all. It was a brutal lesson for the Brit that Max Verstappen would rather crash than lose. Lando realized too late that he was in a street fight rather than a simulator session. Speed means nothing if the team on the pit wall panics. And mid-season 2024 was a masterclass in how to lose a championship from the garage. At Silverstone, they left Norris on the wrong tires as the rain stopped, handing Lewis Hamilton a win that should have been Lando's. Then came the team orders mess in Hungary.
Oh, God! No!
Instead of focusing on the gap to Max, McLaren spent 20 laps begging Lando to give up the lead to his teammate Oscar Piastri. They got their 1-2 finish, but they broke their lead driver's rhythm and wasted mental energy on internal politics. Every point mattered, and they were bleeding them through indecision. There is a statistic from 2024 that is impossible to ignore. Lando Norris had the fastest car for qualifying, taking pole position 8 times, but his average positions lost on lap 1 was minus 0.54. In Spain, he started first and was third by turn 1, and the same story played out in Hungary. At Zandvoort, he bogged down again.
We got it! Here we go again. Worst place in the world.
You cannot beat a machine like Verstappen if you spend the first stint of every race recovering from your own mistakes. The MCL38 was a rocket ship, but the driver launching it kept leaving the handbrake on. It forced him to burn his tires fighting through traffic, while Max used every single meter of tarmac effectively, even in a slower car. By October, the circus reached Texas, and Max Verstappen brought a new weapon in the form of the rulebook. The Red Bull was no longer the fastest car, since Ferrari and McLaren had passed them. So Max stopped racing for speed and started racing for the apex. On lap 52, Norris attacked around the outside of turn 12. Max braked so late, he had no intention of making the corner on the racing line. He missed the apex, went off track, and forced Lando off with him.
To me! Give it to me faster! Wait, that's illegal. No, it is.
But because Max's front axle was ahead at the imaginary apex point, the stewards ruled he had the right to the corner. Lando got a 5-second penalty to finish 4th, while Max finished 3rd. It was cynical, it was ugly, and it was absolute genius.
Oh, yes. It's my genius. It generates gravity.
A week later in Mexico, the genius turned into madness. Max decided that if he couldn't finish ahead of Lando, nobody would. On lap 10, he drove Norris off the road at turn 4, and then did it again at turn 8, leaving the track entirely to keep the position.
Dangerous. I just have to avoid a crash. It's the same as last.
The stewards had seen enough and issued 2 10-second penalties for 20 seconds total.
I'm going to let you hear from real customers just like you. And if these people can't convince you...
Woo! That was a lot.
It was the heaviest driving penalty in recent memory, and the paddock exploded with speculation about whether Max was finally cracking under pressure. He finished 6th that day, while Norris took 2nd. The gap shrank to 47 points as the story shifted. The hunter was closing in, and the prey looked wounded. The debate finally ended on Sunday, November 3rd, 2024 at Interlagos. Qualifying was a disaster for Red Bull because a red flag left Max 17th on the grid while Lando Norris was on pole. The math was simple, since a Lando win with Max scoring 0 would throw the championship wide open. But then the skies opened up. While Norris struggled with brake locking and restart errors to drop back through the field, Max Verstappen was driving a different race entirely. He passed 6 cars on lap 1 and found grip on the extreme outside line where nobody else dared to go. It was more than driving, it was aquatic ballet. By the time the checkered flag fell in Sao Paulo, the world had witnessed one of the greatest drives in the history of the sport. Verstappen won from 17th by 19 seconds. In the exact same conditions where Norris slid off a track and finished 6th, Max was setting fastest lap after fastest lap. That victory earned him 26 points and ripped the heart out of the McLaren garage. The car excuse and the unworthy champion claims were dead. You can argue about penalties in Austin or collisions in Austria, but you cannot argue with passing 16 of the world's best drivers in the pouring rain. We must address the issue of the machinery. History will remember the RB20 as the championship winner, but data tells a different story. From Miami in May until the end of the season, the Red Bull was, statistically, the 3rd fastest car on average, often trailing both the McLaren and the Ferrari. Max went 10 races without a win between Spain and Brazil. Any other driver would have crumbled or settled for 5th places during that streak.
Bullshit now. You guys give me the fucking strategy, okay? I'm trying to rescue what's left. I went into qualifying, I knew the car was...
Max dragged that unbalanced, difficult car onto the podium in Silverstone, in Belgium, and in Singapore. That is where the title was won, not on the days the car was fast, but on the days it was terrible. Lando Norris proved in 2024 that he has the speed of a world champion, but he lacked the killer instinct. When Max had a faster car in previous years, he destroyed his teammates and the field. When Lando had the faster car, he hesitated. He left the door open in Austria, got bullied in Austin, and was too polite on the radio when his team made bad calls.
24 hours.
I know. I'm screwing up.
Formula One is not a sport for the agreeable. To beat a predator like Verstappen, you have to be willing to bite back. Yet too often this season, Lando showed his teeth only after the race was already lost. The final standings show a gap of 63 points. That sounds comfortable, but it hides the stress. If Norris had converted just 3 of his failed pole positions into wins, and if McLaren hadn't thrown away points in Silverstone and Canada, we would have gone to Abu Dhabi level on points. However, theoretical scenarios do not put trophies in the cabinet. Max Verstappen finished every single race of the season except Australia, scoring points even when his brakes were on fire or his floor was damaged. That relentless consistency is what separates a great driver from a legend. Lando had higher peaks in the summer, but his valleys were too deep. The question of whether it was deserved remains. Some argue that Max's driving in Mexico crossed the line, and that he bullied his way to the title. And they aren't entirely wrong. He pushed the rules to their breaking point. Yet claiming he didn't deserve it ignores the reality of the sport. A title isn't awarded for good behavior. It is awarded for the most points over 24 grueling weekends. Max Verstappen took a car that the team admitted had correlation issues and beat a McLaren team that had the fastest vehicle on the planet for 6 months. He didn't win because he had the best car, but because he was the better driver. The 2024 season will be remembered as the year Lando Norris learned what it actually takes to be a world champion. It is about being bulletproof, rather than just setting fast lap times. Max Verstappen deserved his 4th title not because he was perfect, but because he was untouchable when the pressure was highest in the reign of Brazil. The focus now shifts from the past to whether Lando has learned the necessary lesson for 2026.